Welcome to the Believe, Be Real, Be Bold podcast for authentic dating in Denver. My name is Dave Glaser, your host and facilitator, where each week we bring expert guests to come share their knowledge, tools, and tips so that we can show up as our most authentic self. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Discovering the Peacemaker mini-series here on the Believe, Be Real, Be Bold podcast. I'm so ecstatic to get into the topic of conversation today because it is a hotspot for each and every type on the Enneagram. We're talking about fears and desires for the Peacemaker, otherwise known as Type 9 on the Enneagram. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platforms. That really helps to get the message of the podcast out to more people. We're so pleased to be in 27 countries now and creeping up on 3,500 downloads. Really, this message has taken off in recent weeks, and I cannot thank you guys enough for your support. And in honor of that, we wanted to invite you to our live event in Denver, Colorado, April 25th. Tickets are still on discount for a limited time. Please head on over to Eventbrite and search How to Thrive While Dating in Denver and expect a good, fun, vibrant atmosphere with light snacks, hors d'oeuvres, and a cash bar, as well as a panelist of experts that are going to come answer your questions. So if you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via Instagram or Facebook or shoot me an email. Head on over to the website, believeberealbebold.com/shop to grab your tickets. And while you're there, click the support the podcast button and grab extra content for a nominal fee. That goes a long way each month. We really appreciate all your support so far, guys. But let's get back into the topic of the day. As we get into the fears and desires of the Peacemaker, I want to ask the nines out there one question. Do you find that you easily merge with other people's positive energy, but feel like you're in distress when you're around negativity, anger, and conflict that can't be resolved? If that question resonates with you guys, then that might be a big clue to the fact that you're a peacemaker on the Enneagram. If you haven't been following along in recent weeks, I just finished up that series on the Challenger, which is my personality type. Absolutely love it that it's nicknamed the Mack Truck Full of Marshmallows. I was having a random conversation in a Lyft ride back from the airport the other day with another Type 8 Wing 7. We were just going nuts. I don't even know how we got on the topic of conversation, but it was so awesome to know that I wasn't alone and that there are other people out there just as encouraged to discover authenticity through the Enneagram as I am. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of the fears and desires for today. Their core fear is being in conflict, loveless, separate, uncomfortable, unimportant, overlooked, shut out, and or in an inharmonious or discordant relationship. Now, if that question that I just asked you guys and this brief description of your core fears really resonates with you guys, understand that the Type 9 is one of the hardest personality types to actually self-assess. So when we dive deeper into fears, core made of fears and desires, key motivators, and then the tendencies of the Peacemaker over the next few weeks, really tune into what your gut is telling you. Sometimes the Peacemaker can kind of internalize that and go within a shell. And then eventually when they find this self-discovery and awareness, everything just kind of blows up. And it can be beautiful and it can be challenging and it can definitely take you through the shadow of yourself. But on the other side of that, guys, I promise you, there will be exponential growth for you as the Peacemaker personality type. I'm here as a resource. We have other resources as well on the podcast. But if you want to learn a little bit more about the Enneagram, screenshot your personality type and shoot it over to me via Instagram or Facebook or email, and I'll help guide you through the next couple of steps. As I hope you guys can tell, I'm super passionate about this because I've seen so much growth for myself in the last 2+ years, and it does not stop. Each and every single time that I learn something more about myself or learn something more about my daughter who's a Peacemaker, I have more grace and compassion for that other person in interacting at work or in a blooming relationship or in an existing relationship as well. When we learn more about ourselves, we have more grace and compassion for other people. And through this journey of hosting the podcast, I think that that's one of the biggest key takeaways for me, is that when we understand to be understood. I was just messaging Heather about that this morning, one of our friends on Facebook and Instagram, and that was a great realization for me, is when I wanted to understand other people, it allowed me to become more understood as well. Not to mention pairing in with that my own self-discovery and awareness journey. Now, coming out of core fears for the Peacemaker, fearing being in conflict and loveless and separate, and specifically that inharmonious or discordant relationship. Well, what do we do about that? Again, it comes back to understand yourself so that you can be understood by others. I heard this great analogy by our real-life dater that was on the panel of the December event, and Nicole. She said, the Myers-Briggs is how you see the world, and the Enneagram is how the world sees you. And that's actually really resonating with me a lot, because other people observe me as the Mack truck full of marshmallows. I never had that identity attached to myself until I was actually able to discover that fact, that's why people thought I was intense, and that's why people thought I went all in and loved wholeheartedly, maybe moving too fast in relationships. Now, what happens if an 8 gets paired with a 9 and nobody knows that those are their personality types? Well, an 8 can come on very strong, especially if they're an avoidant personality type like me that Natalia, Samantha, and I talked about. Well, that intensity is going to kind of push the 9 away, or at least scare them a little bit, because it's uncomfortable and it's conflicting with their harmonious life goal. And I hope that makes sense, guys, because as we talk more about the Enneagram, we're going to talk more about these combinations of relationships. Now imagine me being the challenger and my daughter being the peacemaker in a parental role, how much that can actually kind of unsettle her life if I'm all in, super intense. Oh, well, you're into jiu-jitsu, Maddie. I've been watching you for 2 years. Why don't I join you on the mat for jiu-jitsu? Well, she's a peacemaker and I'm a challenger, and then we spar together on the mat, and then all of a sudden she's lost interest in the sport. And that could be a lot of different reasons. Maybe I became more of a part of a world that she held special for herself. And this is like, oh, well, now dad's a part of my jiu-jitsu world. Now it's not special for me anymore. Whereas coming from me as the challenger, I was thinking, well, as her father, I can actually be more a part of her life because I understand why she enjoys jiu-jitsu so much. And then we can share this commonality. We'll talk about your ultimate backfire, because I go all in, all intensity, and she's just wanting harmony. She's just wanting her life to be full of love and out of conflict, and to be accepted instead of shut out. So that's an example of how personality types can actually kind of be catastrophic in a intimate relationship or a close relationship like that. And then finally, the core desire of the Enneagram Type 9, the Peacemaker, is to have inner stability and peace of mind. So if we use my daughter as an example, she's 16 years old right now. Does she have peace of mind about a lot of things? Most likely not, because she's a junior in high school and she's wondering what happens after high school, and she wonders what happens when she gets a job and when she starts driving on her own. And all of these things are changing in her world to kind of become unsettled and not peace of mind. So hopefully that this gives you a bigger glimpse, a deeper glimpse into the Peacemaker personality type as seen through the lens of the Enneagram. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Screenshot this episode if you know a peacemaker out there that needs a little bit of guidance and a little bit of compassion. Send them our way, and we'll be here with open arms. Until next Monday, guys, stay tuned for an amazing episode with Amanda McLaren. She is one of my newest friends. She's a social media consultant, but she comes on the podcast and shares a lot about her dating world as a real-life dater here in Denver, Colorado. Thanks again. My name's Dave Glaser, your humble host of the BBR podcast. Talk to you soon.